Hi, my name is Inez Simpson, and this is one of the series of videos and audios about the holistic therapy process called the Simpson Protocol. I'm talking to the people who have experience with Simpson Protocol and what they think of the process and the results they have found. So if you are the person who desires positive change in themselves and those they come in contact with, I believe you'll find this interesting. Today we're talking to Stin-Niels Musche.
Hi. Or as I usually
He's one of my favorite people.
Oh, now I'm blushing.
And then so I kind of love him. Yeah. He's SP trainer for Germany. And the first SP trainer, well, besides Tim Horn, the first SP trainer in Europe. So
and I could say my certificate says number 1.
Yes, he's number 1. So he's going to give us some background on him.
Yeah, some background. So I worked before I started with hypnosis. I worked in the insurance industry as an insurance broker, and I did some more thing in between shifting to hypnosis. I was doing some communication skill training for people all over here in Germany. And then hypnosis came up and showed up suddenly to help people. And I liked the approach of the hypnosis. But and nowadays, so just move on from there. That is 10, 14 years ago. And nowadays I have what people usually say is a licensed professional to help people with all kinds of stuff going on, especially with all mental disorders or whatever you will call it, if it isn't a disorder. So and I run a private practice here in Hamburg, Germany, and also I'm CEO of Hypno School, which is one of the leading hypnosis training companies in Germany. So that is the background. Or do you want to dive?
No, you can dive a little deeper if you want.
Well, I guess that sums it up pretty good.
Okay. So, do you know what you thought of SP when you first saw it?
Yeah. And you know what I thought, because
yes, I do. That's why, but I want you to tell.
Well, the thing is, that I learned hypnosis with the regression therapy approach. So I never learned the Ericksonian style or all the other styles of hypnosis around there. And I saw how effective regression hypnosis is and was. But the thing was, I was always looking like there has to be a kind of easier approach, a more holistic approach, and most important, a less heavy feeling approach, to call it like that, because there are a lot of emotions going on during a regression therapy session, and usually that's very hard for clients. So I was looking for a approach that is easier. And I had a session in, I don't know, it was late 2011, early 2012, and the colleague talked about, so he did the beach deepener with me in that session, and I don't know why, but I was fascinated just from the beach deepener and said, well, yeah, that is from an approach. There is this Canadian lady, and she developed her own thing, and that was back in the days where you didn't have a very good website. So and I was kind of, okay, that sounds interesting, but also a little weird. Let's see. And I couldn't find any really good information on the internet. And then it happened that we met at the convention, and you did the demonstration there, and I was just sitting there and be curious about what will go on. And then I saw it and I felt in love right after you started with the demo, because it was like the Holy Grail came in and said, this is the thing you were always looking for. This is the holistic, easy, less emotional approach to help your patients to get better outcomes. So, and that is 10 years ago. And from that day on, I felt in love with Simpson protocol, even though back in the days, the process of Simpson protocol was way more complicated than it is today, especially with Miss Inez doing sessions. And like she always, it just was, there wasn't that structure in it. And that was hard to learn it in the beginning. Nowadays, it's easy, structured and everything. But back in the days, I know I at the convention, because I missed the training there, I bought the DVDs you had, and I was watching them at home and said, well, everything is different. Every session is different than the other session. For someone like me who wants to get in the nitty gritty and to get the structure to replicate it, there wasn't any chance to replicate it. So I always got it because I wrote it down then, and then I had to come over to the US to take the training. But everything I wanted to know then there at the training was just about the regression part of the Simpson protocol. And nowadays, 10 years later, it is easy to learn because things shifted and changed. And also my students who came to one of the early German trainings usually say, well, it's the same protocol, but like it's different nowadays because it's easier. And
it's
also
easier. Yeah, well, when I started developing it, I was regression to cause minded too. And I was trying to build a structure from old thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I said this is entirely different, and I started to change.
Yeah. And so what I also really like is that it is always just more, I don't know if developing is the right word, but it's an ongoing development thing. Like it's getting better every time with every training.
Every training you do, we get better. We evolve the thing a little more.
Yeah, and that is what I really like, that, things are changing. Nothing is cut in stone, and it's always to get better outcomes for the clients on the one hand, and to make the process easier for the hypnotist.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, I really like that too. So what type of person or profession benefits the most by learning SP, in your opinion?
Well, everyone who works with people from all aspects of health. So it's not just mental health, it's also I see a lot of patients with physical issues showing up, and we can help them to get kind of a better outcome of that. And also, nowadays I also see some clients who show up and say, well, I have kind of financial beliefs or limiting beliefs about getting or being successful in my job. So everything where the mind is attached can help with that.
But I was thinking more of people who are minded to take this course. It'd be people who do Reiki. They have a mindset that's similar. People who do any kind of energy work or any kind of nursing or any kind of doctors. I don't know that anybody in the world can take it, but anybody with the right attitude
Yes. Well, you have to have kind of the right attitude, because if you just come in and say, well, I just want to do it the way I did it all the years before,
Yeah.
you don't have to take a training to get kind of maybe better outcomes. And what I always tell my students is that they can put in all their training they had before into SP, because as long as they follow the
Yeah.
philosophy, everything can put in. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Nice.
Yeah. I was talking to a girl the other day and she uses SP all the times. And then she just this one little piece that she put in and it made it absolutely incredible for her.
And I think that is, I always say I do it the standard way and I get outcomes. And I have also some colleagues who add this and this and that. And I always say, well, you can add it because it's up to you, the way you like it, as long as you follow the philosophy. And
Yes.
everyone comes from a different background, and just add in what you want to. And this is what I also like, because with other things, you don't have the flexibility to just go and say, oh, yeah, that is an easy thing. I just want to add it in, because it doesn't fit in other
Yeah,
approaches.
that's true. So let's see, what's the next question? What challenges for the practitioner does SP solve, would you say, if any?
Well, it solves a lot of challenges. And so what, from my point of view, the most important thing is that if you want to, and if you have the trust as a practitioner, you can pretty good keep the conscious mind out of the way. So, because I always like to say the only thing that is disturbing is the conscious mind. And that is the whole thing. And that is the most challenging thing, because if the conscious mind is interfering, you will
Get
get
less. Yeah.
an outcome, but it's better if the conscious mind is less interfering. And I think that is the most challenging thing. And also kind of, if you work with an approach for 10, 20 or more years, it's also challenging to get out of your comfort zone, to
Yes.
check out new things, and don't say, oh, I did it all the way, or I
I
do
do
it.
it this way and it's always worked.
Yes, but that is, have an open mind and
We're still
think.
experimenting 10 or more percent of the time.
Mhm.
What Jerry Kai used to tell us to do about regression to cause, and we that little bit of experimenting changes it continuously and makes it easier,
Mhm.
right?
Yep, I totally agree. Well, I
Yeah.
don't have I don't have that time. So usually I don't have much time to do some experiments. It's more like, I'd say, experimenting in what is possible for the
Yeah,
client.
I think I don't mean experimenting on purpose. Like, you're halfway through a session and you change the question.
Mhm.
You change questions. You never ask this one question, or you never ask this other question. And just completely, it leaves such freedom
Yeah,
to do anything.
I agree.
Yeah. Now I call this thing you were saying quite a bit is it's holistic and that's inclusive. What do you think? And when you say holistic, what do you mean?
Well, when I say holistic, I usually mean it integrates body, mind, spirit, and soul. And this is what I think of holistic. And usually, when you, for example, usually people show up in my office, and 80% or maybe less show up with mental, they have kind of a disorder, because I don't have much coaching patients or clients.
No.
they usually show up with kind of, let's call it a disorder. And what I always tell them is that we don't fix that. We also do some integrative work of body, mind, spirit, and soul, because we are balancing that all out to get the best outcome. And this is what I think is the holistic approach. And also, when we do the work with the superconscious mind, we can also ask some questions. Like last week, I saw a client and she said, yeah, well, I'm not sure, maybe some of my physical problems are caused by a teeth thing that was going on. And I asked superconscious mind, and that was kind of, let me just
go ahead
here to tell that. And the interesting part is, I said to superconscious mind, can you fix this? And the no finger came up. And I said, okay, is there a blockage? No. Is there anything else? No. And I said, okay. And I did that telepathically. So you have to be open about it. And I said, okay, is it something from outside going on? And yes, the yes finger came up. And I said, okay, does she has to see the doctor again to tell him that it is not right what he did? The yes finger came up. And I said, okay, when she's doing that, can we then just go on with the healing? Yes. Okay. So I said, okay, please program that in, and told her afterward that she has to see the doctor. And usually that is kind of interesting, because I like that. Because when I look back over the last years, always when I asked stuff like this, it was also on point and right. And that is, people usually don't get that on the first hand, that if they have the belief in the superconscious mind, or however we will call it, that you get the right answers. But the thing is, sometimes they are very quiet and just for a nanosecond, but then it's usually the right answer. And I've seen lots of things like that going on over the last years. So that's kind of, sometimes it's a little spooky, because when I see clients and they say, yeah, I see the doctors in a few weeks and they are doing tests about this and that, and I usually write it down, ask the question, and I say, I don't tell you right now what superconscious mind said, but I write it down here. It comes to your folder, and when you get the results, please call me. And to be honest, it's 90 to 95% correct when I ask the questions way before. What comes up then with the test results? So, and I think that is very interesting. But you have to have trust.
Yeah. Well, I think I always know, because the question just is right there. Mm-hmm. And I don't even I haven't been thinking about it or anything. So I always know when it's being presented to ask for.
You know what I do? Sometimes I'm just, when you're at the end of a session, and we usually ask, is there anything else to do? Or and the yes finger comes up, and then I just go on, and it looks like there is nothing to do. And then I said, are we done now? No. And then I always say, okay, superconscious mind, if you want to do some extra work and want me to ask some questions, then give me some information. I need questions. And then questions just pop up. And but it's kind of, it's like I said before, it's just this nanosecond going on. And then you have to be you have to listen, or you have to feel, however you want to call it. But it's just this tiny little thing going on there. And the most important thing is you have to have trust about what comes up.
Yeah, I've got trust. So I'll say, superconscious, you want to do something else, you know everything about it. Will you do it? Mm-hmm. Whatever it is. And they say yes or no, but mostly yes. You got to get to a yes. So yes. I have the questions till I get to the yes, and that's it. And they do it, and that's over. But that's why I say to people that they can't take ownership of doing things. They don't, if they don't, the client doesn't allow all the questions to be asked or anything that they won't accept the healing, they won't accept anything because they're closed down. They aren't open to the possibilities. I mean, how many people have we had, German and non-German, have had cancer stopped?
Lots
So
of.
many. Yeah, so many people. But if the client isn't open to possibility of that, they don't get it.
That's true. Yeah.
What issues can SP be used for? Have you found different? I mean, I say everything, but that nobody ever believes everything. So
Well, the thing is, I use it for almost everything. So when I don't use SP, it's just because I'm very lazy. And I know we will have always discussions about that, because when someone shows up with just a phobia or an kind of special fear of something, I'm lazy and just go there with a regression to cause session %. But I know we always disagree about that.
yeah, we disagree about that.
Yeah, and that is okay. Because I know what you say, that is, you take the experience and you don't give the client the complete thing. Yes, I totally agree with that. It's just because Mr. Steen is lazy on that. But on the other hand, I use it really for everything. So, and usually when people show up and say, can you help me with that? And sometimes it's just kind of an exotic issue. I always say yes, easy, because
Yeah, so do
I I had that one lady and I said to her, to be honest, I don't care about your problem. I have a solution. I don't care if you show up with that or this or that. I don't care about it. It's just I have the solution, and I'm just asking you what is the desired outcome you want to have. And then we work us through everything that cause or affect the blockage to get this desired outcome. So I don't care. And that may sounds very maybe different, because someone will say, yeah, but you have to care. Yeah, I care about them, but it's for me, I want to get the outcome, and I don't be the guy who's just writing the problem. And
so it's sort of also telling them they're in charge.
yeah, well, they are. And but I always tell them, you don't have to talk about the problem. Just tell me what is the outcome you want to
that
achieve.
you are striving for.
Yeah. And that is what I focus on, to get this outcome. And then you can come up with everything. And I see patients with a wide angle of problems. Like last week, I had that lady who had problems, a lot of physical problems going on. And after that, I saw someone with erectile dysfunction. And on the session the next day, someone showed up with depression. So it's a really wide angle of everything.
Yeah. Okay. You answered that very good. What aspect of SP do you find the most appealing in your practice?
Well, yeah, I like every aspect of SP. So I can really say that, because it's I like the whole process, and I like the whole approach of it, because for me it's the holistic approach, and I've seen the best results with that over the last year. So it's a few years ago, I gave my mother the manual, and I think she hadn't any clue what I was doing there. And she said to me, well, I've read that manual and this is very esoteric, spiritual stuff. And she's like, do you really work with that in your office? And I said, well, to be honest, this is the way I got the best results for the clients. So there's not just one thing I really like, because every client is different. Every session is kind of a little different. So for me, it's the complete thing. So, but if I had to say something which is the most appealing, it's easy. For me, it's easy. And it's, I always say I can do, I could be very sick or very sleepy and tired. I could do a SP session because I don't have to, maybe it sounds a little wrong, but I don't have to think a lot of it, because I can just say, superconscious mind, let's go through that, and if I forget anything or whatever, just take care of it and give it back to the superconscious mind. And as I always say, I'm just kind of a tour guide. I know where we have to walk, I know all the sites, but you as the client have to walk,
and you have to be open to healing.
Yeah.
It's funny because I changed the contract with the clients so that they would take in the healing aspect,
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. Can you tell us, do you any particular sessions you have been using SPU? I know that's the only thing you use. So just can you give us maybe one or two outcomes?
Yeah, well, I think that is so. I have three. Okay. One was a young lady I've seen last week for the second time, and she was sitting in front of me and said, well, I don't really know why I'm here again, because she's 24 years old and she showed up with a major depression. And I asked her, okay, and she told me that she has it since she was a young girl or a kid. She said maybe it started at 6 or 7, and we just did one session, and she showed up and said, well, I'm just here because I don't have any depression any longer, but my life, so I'm used to have it, and now we have to work on living without the depression, because she said, I don't know what to do, because this was part of my whole life. So that was one thing. And another thing that was one of the early sessions I did with SP, was that lady, she came with a list of 27 issues. And the funny thing is, we only did one issue. Because I said, superconscious mind, can we work on the most important issue? We worked on that. Everything was gone. Nothing else was left over. And I know that because she took the SP training a little later then, because she was so fascinated that one session and one issue fixed helped her to change her complete life. And the third session, and that was kind of I can't say weirdest session, even though it was one of the weirdest sessions. It was a 13-year-old boy with a major, very, very, very heavy OCD. And his parents and him, they tried everything. He was in the clinic. They did naturopath things, everything. So, hypnosis was the last thing. Yeah. And that was kind of interesting, because the session was pretty easy till we came to the subliminal technique. So if you're not used to SP, don't worry. It's a technique where we give up the complete control to the superconscious mind and say, fix it while the arm is going down. And this process took 47 minutes. 47 minutes. And the funny thing is, after the session, he wrote me an email. Yeah, I'm not sure if I did it the right way. And I said, well, why? And he said, yeah, I tried to bend my arm down, but it didn't work. But I tried it several times because the process took so much time. And I said, yeah, and it didn't work. So that means superconscious mind was in charge and did the whole thing. Yeah, and the good thing is the OCD was fixed after that one session. So that was kind of very amazing because they lost hope. They lost hope on everything, and it was so hard for him to get his life done because major heavy OCD, and it was just not just one thing. There were a lot of things like counting, washing, and all that stuff, and we fixed that with just
it's
90 minutes.
there's so many things to figure out. If we had to do it, we couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we give up the super conscious, I know many people to say, I don't believe in the spiritual, I don't really want to do that. And he said, well, it's part of the deal. You do it or you don't do it at all, sort of thing. But they don't have it. Everybody has it, even they don't know they have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
it's important.
So, but I think it's,
Do you want to say anything to finish off? Anything you want?
Well, if you haven't learned SP so far, you should think about it, because it not only will change your life, it will also it will change the life of if you work in the health profession, the life of your clients.
Yeah.
On an easy way. And holistic, all that stuff.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So thank you for inventing Simpson Protocol, Ms. Ines.
You're welcome.